Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is April 28th. It is the final fourth Tuesday of the Tuesday Boylston Swiss tournament. I'm entering tonight. 2 wins, 1 loss. My loss, if you all remember, was week one. I guess got gifted a piece, literally a full piece in that one. And then I just completely self-immolated and lost. Since then, I've played 2 club Thursdays, drawn against Ben, although I should have won, and smashing Steven after he played the opening quite poorly. In the Tuesday Swiss, I'm playing really well. And I got matched up against a guy I've not played yet. I believe he's a college student because he told me when the game finished, he said, I got to get home to study. And I said, all right, good luck, ace that test. Named Anton Stark. Now, Anton, I think has played a little bit at the club. I don't know. I didn't know what he was going to play. I got assigned the black pieces. It does mean I got 2 more blacks this month than white, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And Anton moved like a maniac. Now, I don't know if that was his normal or because, again, afterward he said, you mind cleaning up? I'm going to skip out on analysis. I got to get home. I don't know if it was for that reason, but this was one of the fastest players I've played against. In fact, I don't really think I got into time trouble, but he more or less had like twice as much time as me. And he blitzed the opening, which was kind of surprising because I just don't expect people to know the opening. And when people kind of don't know the opening and then they blitz it out anyway, I always like kind of raise my eyebrow because I just think it's bad, to be honest. But sometimes it works out for my opponents. In any event, let's just get into the game. I'm home early. In fact, I threw in some lasagna in the oven. It's already been running, and then I have to set up this setup. So we'll say it's about 50 more minutes, and that's what I'm going to try to limit the video to because I want to eat, as you can imagine. All right, so my opponent strikes out with d4. I play d6, and what's funny about this is I was just thinking to myself how little I've faced d4, 1d4, and also I actually thankfully, just recently put in my transpositions into my Pierce, which I have not looked at in a long time, into Lee chess. So I actually brushed up because when he played 1d4 and I played d6, he actually then played e4. And again, this gets into the Pierce. This is a transposition. In fact, I don't know if I should show off these notes. No, I shouldn't show it. I was going to show my studies as far as the transposition. Because again, I just inputted this. I hadn't brushed up on it at all. Thinking, okay, actually, you know what I can do? I can do this. I can go to the opening because I want to show one thing that's kind of important. And that's basically, I'm trying, if this isn't clear, and I think this makes a lot of sense, I'm trying to play stuff that I play against very commonly, all right? So with d6, e4 is the second most common on blitz settings, and Masters is the second most common. So, but more often, you get c4. And in fact, the Masters level played the knight f3, which is kind of going into the wave, but I'm not really super prepared. Anyway, those are the 3 real openings, and then online you also encounter London setups, bishop f4. But you don't see that at Masters because d6 is actually very good against the London. I'm not going to go into my theory there. Maybe I'll end up playing it eventually over the board. But anyway, the point is, 30% of the time when I go into these d4, I should encounter it. It's just how rarely I've actually seen d4, e4. So anyway, all that the point of that is Anton was blitzing. I blitzed out the first 5 moves, and then I actually had to think. And then I got the move wrong. I double-checked that after the game. But let me just show you the theory. So e4, I play knight f3. It's the best move. He plays... excuse me. Did I write this down wrong? Oh, yeah. I'm looking at the wrong game. I'm like, that doesn't look right. All right, now I have it right. I play knight f6. Perfect. And he plays knight c3, which is one of 2 moves. He's got... Excuse me. Either this or this. He's got to defend the pawn. I never see anyone push, although I suppose it's viable. Takes. No, it's good for me because then I trade on my terms, and then I actually can jump anyway with possible forks and kind of going in. Right. Anyway, the point is you only really ever see these 2 moves, which does make studying it very easy because the fewer the viable moves, but the branches, the better it is for me. I'm trying not to pick openings where there are a million possibilities because then you really can't study that. Then you just have to study the ideas behind positions. All right, lasagna time. He's going to play knight c3, which is actually the better option between the 2 pieces. It doesn't matter that much, but it is a little bit more accurate. I strike out in the center with e5. And they can kind of transpose this into a Philidor, which is just not that good for black, but at least I know the theory well, so I'm comfortable playing it. but he actually trades, which leaves me in totally fine shape because these moves are all forced. And we arrive at a position that I have studied a lot, and I actually have played over the board a fair amount. I just haven't played in a long time because, again, I just haven't faced d4 all that often. Although what's funny is I've gotten to this position through e4 openings as well. E4, d6, d4, and then the same applies. So I actually had, but now I've moved away from the Pierce. I don't play d6 against e1, e4 anymore, at least for the time being. All right, I am going a little bit off the deep end. It's not that important. The point is we arrived at this position, and then Anton plays bishop g5, which is the most common move. I think it's a good move. It makes sense. The idea here is you're pinning the knight. You can't jump in, and maybe he's going to look to jump in his own knight to put the pressure on. And I spent 5 minutes on this move because I couldn't remember, and this is so ridiculous, if I'm supposed to play c6 or knight d7. The right answer is knight d7, but I thought it was c6 so that you can answer a queenside castle with king c7. It doesn't really matter. It transposes all to the same, but I actually did invert my move order. And again, I spent 5 minutes. Maybe this wasn't the best use of time, but I just didn't want to make the incorrect moves in the opening. You don't want to I've used the expression self-immolate, but self-mutilate when you really don't have to. In any event, after bishop g5, I play c6. The idea here is I'm really playing against a bad knight and giving my king a square. So if he castles into it, I'm fine. I should actually play the knight first. It doesn't really block in this bishop. Oddly enough, we look for b5 ideas, and we're going to kind of expand outwardly. But that's long-term. Those are some other goals. Let's just get through the opening, shall we? He plays knight f3. He's just developing, throwing his pieces in the middle. As you all can tell, my e5 pawn is under attack. So I defend it. Now I play knight d7. That's what I mean. I don't think the move order matters that much. He castles. He is now pinning the knight, so he's attacking the pawn. And I play king c7, which is the whole idea. I break the pin. All my pieces are defended. And I know this position pretty well, and I know that I've basically equalized for the most part. After this, he plays bishop c4. And the threat is very clear, and this is where I am out of book, so this is where I spent 7 minutes? Okay, so I'm really, excuse me. Oh, no, I got down to 122, so only a couple minutes. And the reason why is I had to think about the best move here. He's threatening this f-pawn. You don't want to just give it for free. So I thought I have a couple moves. For example, I can pin his knight, and if he takes, I would then take, he would then take, and then that would let me take on e4. I didn't like that because if I play bishop, what he can do actually first is trade the bishop for the knight. If I take with the knight, he can just simply go knight takes e5, same with the same threats, in fact, really, really strong. So I have to go pawn takes, and then he's still able to take the f-pawn. So I would lose a pawn in that line, so that's why I ruled out bishop b4. I thought of the other defensive moves here, and I wasn't really finding them. And I wondered first if I made a mistake, because I know that I want to play b5. But then I realized, oh, I have this resource. This is great. I'm not pinned anymore, so I can play knight g4, threatening this fork. So if he takes my pawn, I win the exchange. And then I was calculating some crazy lines, like rook takes knight. I have to go, bishop takes, and then he can play knight takes on e5 with check, and then win the f-pawn. And I actually thought that that would be reasonable for my opponent. He would give up the exchange for 2 pawns. I didn't love that, but just so you guys can see what I mean. But anyways, what I calculated, if I go here threatening, he could either if he dropped the bishop to e3, I would gladly trade, and he would have horrible pawn structure. Or more likely, he would just drop to h4, and that would let me cement f6, and I would have a beautiful pawn chain. And then if you ever threatens, which is, by the way, this is exactly what happens. This is kind of what I calculated. I can just drop back. And you want you reroute your knight in this setup a lot, basically vis-a-vis the f7 square. That's kind of the Frankfurt airport, if you will. So all this happened, so I did think for a little bit, move 9, and I play knight g4. Again, the threat is this fork. And he does answer with bishop h4. For the record, just so you guys can see the calculations, I calculated this move. This is rook takes d7 with check. I would take back. And actually here, the reason why I liked it for me, right, is that my knight is actually defending the pawn. So I thought he would probably win this pawn, so I can't push. And then here, this kind of gets crazy. And I thought maybe I go boom, he can go boom, I go boom, kind of lock it up. If he doesn't take right away, if he bounces, again, I think I boom here. and then it gives up a pawn. So right, and then basically once he takes a pawn, this is now under wraps. I can maybe play bishop d6. He moves the other rook in. I'm defending everything. Anyway, whatever. The point is, I decided that the sacrifice was not that good, and his best course of action is probably defending this pawn, and I didn't need to be afraid of it. Just so you guys can tell, the other move that I was calculating was this, but the problem is he can just go bishop takes, excuse me, he would go bishop takes knight here, and then if I go knight takes, he can just win this pawn, still threaten that, and if I go pawn takes, he now just wins a free pawn. And as you guys can tell, he's +1. And yes, I can go like this, boom, boom, endanger his pawns. But this position is worse for black, and so I obviously outruled that. I didn't want that. And I was really struggling, not struggling, but I did spend a few minutes because I was trying to come up with other candidate moves. Okay, it is the best move, which makes me happy. Oh, and look, that's funny. Bishop b4, which is the other thing I was considering, is the second best move. And then bishop c5. Yeah, and I was also considering bishop c5. Thanks, I can turn off the engine now. Bishop c5 with the idea here, if he takes my pawn, I take his pawn. I thought that this was fine, to be honest. But I thought that he could maybe just double the rook. He's defending, and I still have the same issue. And now when I play knight g4, this is no longer threatening a fork. So that's why I outruled that too. So all right, anyway, he drops to h4. It's kind of my thought process, if you will. I waste no time, play f6. Now he doesn't have a target. He kicks me immediately. And by the way, like I'm not kidding. Anton moved so fast, as though he had somewhere to be. And he told me afterward, when he left very quickly, he did have to be, he had to go home to study. But who the hell knows? Maybe he just always plays like this. He played h3. I only have one viable move. I move back to h6, which is not like the most beautiful square. Anton very quickly plays rook d2. His idea is pretty clear cut. He's trying to double up on the file. I don't know if I mind that. He spent 1 minute. I was trying to match him pace for pace, and I played what I thought was a really good move, bishop b4. The idea is I'm now pinning the knight to the rook. If he pushes me, I'm going to just trade. He's going to have some weaknesses in his pawn structure. And more importantly, what I really want to do is I want to get my knight to c5, because it's a beast on c5, because then I'm forever spying the e4 pawn. And with his knight on f3, it's blocking the pawn to push to f3, which means I've got a couple of tempi before he can fix his pawn structure. So that's kind of what I was calculating, what I was thinking. He plays bishop e6 here, which, fine. I didn't understand. I didn't think there was really anything to it. I trade because I calculate, does he have any kind of like rook takes, and he doesn't. I'm defending. He has no intermitsu, so I take and he has to take with the pawn. He does. Once he takes with the pawn, I now play knight c5. I have my knight exactly where I want it. I'm zooming in on this pawn. I'm attacking this bish, kind of ridding it. If he trades, which is what he does, he's wasted a few moves to trade off the light square bishops. I take back with the a rook. No idea if that's more accurate or not. But I thought there were some lines where I was going to run with the king, so I thought it wouldn't make sense to have my rook on a8. That's why I chose that one. And all right, we're moving very quickly here, but all of these moves seem straightforward. There was a little bit of calculation, of course, I'm going to show you the critical position of the game. At least the first one is here. He plays rook h d1. And guys, I spent 15 minutes studying this position. So to have a look at this, I think so far everything I've played, I've enjoyed. I know that when we arrive at this position, I'm in decent shape. Hopefully you guys can see the threats in the position. He's wanting to kebab me. My knight is doing an insane job defending, and he has no pawns that can dislodge it, which makes this knight an absolute beast. He would love to trade one of these pieces for the knight, but it's just not possible. He'd have to, again, to get this bishop on f2, he'd have to move the knight, move the pawn, and move the bishop. That's 3 moves away. That's way too slow, okay? I'm also, in theory, threatening this pawn. Now, the problem is, if I take the pawn, this is one of my calculations, and the critical thing, is at first I said, wait, can I take this pawn? And so I was calculating knight takes pawn, rook check, I'm probably running up, and then he's kebabbing, he's taking the g pawn. Now, from this square, I'm attacking 2 different pawns. Obviously, this one's covered at the moment. And when I take on c3, I'm then also hitting the rook. But then I thought, again, it gets a wild position where if he plays rook d3, I might take another pawn with check and kind of go back. And honestly, that's probably why I spent 15 minutes, because I was genuinely, I don't know if that's a word, thinking that knight takes pawn, even though it opens me up with him going to the second to kebab me, might be good, okay? I was trying to calculate my way through, again, like 8 moves deep, which is really good for me. Like, I was really working on the extended calculation, and I figured I was basically going to get this pawn, this pawn, this pawn. He was going to get this pawn, but then this is breaking through this pawn and this pawn. And I decided that's better for him because he has the bishop, and if all these pawns are gone and it opens up, I think it's better for white. So I then, after a while of really trying to make knight takes pawn work, I then said, no, that can't be good. Then I started calculating, saying, wait, if I just play the rook here, what happens? I said, because I really want this knight to attack the pawn, but I calculated rook cd, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, king takes, and then I saw he has this move, knight d2, and unfortunately it means his knight is defending his pawn and freeing the square for f3, giving him a chance to play f3 after I, again, I'm not actually attacking the pawn because he's defending. And I said, shit. There's no way I'm better there. At best, it's equal. I don't really want to trade off the rooks yet. And by the way, I'm about 150, not quite 200 points higher rated than this guy. I'm obviously playing to win, obviously. And although I don't mind playing endgames at all, I was not ready to trade the rooks. Even though they are in the middle of the board, I didn't think with this knight here, they're actually threatening that much. So I knew my default was going to be rook cd8, but I kept trying to look for a better move. Then I saw, wait, I always have this g5 move, and it's interesting, because as you guys can tell, this pawn's actually pinned. If I push him back to g3, he's got lasering on my king, so he can actually take with the knight. And obviously, if I take with the pawn, he then takes with the rook, and that's a problem. I also saw that this this bishop is spying the d8 square. So if he could sacrifice and I take, I actually might be in trouble if I can never move my rooks to the d8 square, which made me think again, oh shit, maybe I should trade. I know that b5 is a move in a lot of these situations, is claiming space. I was thinking, again, I didn't really want to move my knight out wide. I never really want to let him access to the d7 square, but I was calculating all of these c3 takes to see if I have any funky forks, especially because then I'd be hitting the e4 pawn. I then just calculated, and by the way, so I calculated g5, bishop here, and then playing the rook over, because in those lines, he's no longer gunning down on the d8 square. And then I had to calculate, after g5, I had to calculate knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes. He'd be hitting my knight there. I figured I'd go to f7, and I'm still, he still doesn't have this, but then I thought that he has this very scary move, bishop e7, hitting my knight, which lets his rooks in. Anyway, needless to say, I spent, actually 16 minutes in this position. I think this position's rich, and I really gave this a deep thought. I'm very happy I did, because I really think I found the best move. I then said, wait, do I have to trade the rooks right away? And I said, no. How the hell does he improve his position? Well, his improvement would be moving the knight. And if you remember the line that I thought with rook hd8, trade, 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 he wants to put his knight on d2 to protect this pawn. So I said, wait, if he wants his knight there, and his knight is the one that has to move, he's going to have to put his knight in a shitty square, or at least a less useful square, okay? So I said, I actually have a free move. And I looked at my position, I said, well, what's the piece that's doing the least? It's this knight on h6. It's dead here, it's dead here. I said, let's just get my piece in the game. Come on. And I said, the threat of g5 is still there, and when I have knight f7, I'm not only threatening that, but he doesn't have these sacrifices anymore because my knight is also protecting this pawn. So I'm actually really curious if this is the best move. I was very, very happy to play knight f7. Yes, and the computer likes my move. Oh, and look at that. I'm already minus 1.2. I did feel like I was a bit better here. I feel great. Look at that. I found the best move, guys. I'm very, very proud of myself. Just so you guys can tell, look at that. I'm patting myself on the back. So basically because I was calculating rook here, take, knight here, and now I'm not actually attacking the pawn right away. Am I better? Maybe? Okay, I'm still actually minus 0.6 or minus 0.7. So it's actually still better for me. Now the computer likes g5 ideas. Or now they like knight a4 with the idea of targeting the c pawn because he can't move up because my knight is actually taking away the b2 square. I do see that, and I actually, again, when I was calculating knight a4, I did see that. But in this position, I was so locked in on the e pawn. And I also don't know how valuable that c pawn is. It's already doubled. I already considered my position a bit better, whether I take that pawn now or later. All All right. Anyway, let's turn off the analysis, the engine, just so you guys can see. And then I was also calculating g5 here, but again, the move I was concerned about was the sacrifice, takes, and after I play here, I'm hitting the bishop, I'm protecting my pawn, but I saw he has bishop e7. Again, he wants to dislodge this knight, and I was not very happy about this position. Apparently, it's really good because I am still up the piece, and I can take on, because now I can take on e. Really? Computer says I can take on e4? I thought I was getting kebabbed, that like I was having all kinds of problems. All right, well, maybe this sacrifice is just terrible. But I did consider I wanted to move my knight first to f7 so that I can prepare g5. Actually kind of curious here. Oh, the computer doesn't mind the knight takes on g5. That is actually a very viable option. I thought, again, that he would go to, just so you guys can see, to g3. And just so you guys can tell, he is threatening to go knight takes g5 because this pawn is pinned. But I thought in this position I would then just play knight f7, and now I'm guarding, I'm blocking, and I'm kind of blunting his bishop. The problem, yeah, all right, anyway, so you guys can see the calculations. That's kind of what I went through. Let's continue with the game. The point is I spent a long time in that critical position. It looks like I did find the best move, so kudos me. In any event, after I play knight f7, Anton played 1 minute, and he plays knight e1. And what's funny, first off, I mean, again, Anton has an hour 21 still. He's played 17 moves, and he's used, 9 or 10 minutes. I guess he gets 5 seconds. He's probably used 10 minutes. I'm down to almost an hour. And in this position, again, I have to calculate if I can go, actually, real quick, just because I was considering, I'm actually just very curious how bad, I just want to look at the other line that I was considering, because I spent like 5 or 6 minutes on it first, and I ruled it out because I thought it was too wacky and wild. But what's funny is the computer still says this is, I mean, it's an accuracy, and I did veto it, but this is still actually playable. In fact, it might even be still decent for black. I was very worried, because after this check, I was going to go to b6, which is what the computer recommends, and then basically white starts grabbing these pawns, like on g7. Oh, I didn't see this move. I didn't see that move. Hopefully you guys can see what saves the bacon. It's knight f5, because then you're forking these two pieces. I didn't see that, rewinding a few moves back. Actually, if I had seen this, I would have gone into this, even though this isn't as good as what I did. I was looking for any way to make this work. But I didn't see this. Yeah, I saw knight takes on c3. That's what I saw. Yeah, and then the problem is you let them into the 7th. Just so you guys can tell, I saw knight takes on c3, hitting the rook, hitting the pawn, but letting him jump on in. I thought he was going to go dd7. I can't play knight takes pawn now because he can just attack my knight and then hit me with check. And they're still saying knight f5 is the saving grace move. I would probably have done something stupid like rook here just to defend against the checks. But then I saw the bishop was coming in, and yeah, it looks like this is losing. So that's why I kind of avoided all of this mess. The move that I'm just kind of curious. I did not see this fork. Why is this not winning for black? It looks like they can play. Oh, see, they can be so clever. You can just rewind the rook up here, and now you're basically defending and attacking. I mean, it's a great move. I didn't see that either. And basically after takes, now you can play knight takes on c3. And this is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Black is up a pawn, but it only gives black minus 0.1 or 0.2 because of how dodgy everything is. And as knight's kind of hanging around, this might be a weakness because like we can play like rook h6 and stuff. All right, that's good to know. That's kind of cool. All right, none of that happened. I'm gonna turn off the engine now. Hopefully you guys see what I mean. Where are we? Let me double check. Let me double check the board. Move 17, knight f7, and he plays knight e1. Okay. Engine off. All right, knight e1 is played. We get this to position, and anyway, now I think to myself, okay, I have a centralized knight. It's great. At any point, I can play the rooks over, and I thought that the most accurate line was getting his bishop off of this diagonal. I thought I could take space with tempo by playing g5, and then if I always needed to, I can always bail out by playing, rook h d8. Again, I can't threaten to, I can't take this now, because although it's not defended, he would then kebab me. He would go check and then win my knight. So I knew I had to, again, resolve that. He can't enter now, because my knight's doing a great job of defending d7. And so I play g5. He doesn't have the knight here anymore, so he doesn't even have sacrifice ideas. He very quickly, again, in a split second, moved bishop g3. I mean, what else can he do? I spent another couple minutes here. I went to the idea that he's going to play f3, so he's going to kind of like make holes in his position, and that I should take space. And I thought for a while, because my candidate moves were h5 with the possible idea of g4. It's worth pointing out that putting pressure on the f3 pawn, which is the only support of the e pawn. I thought a5 might be good, just kind of marching it down. I like b5, and again, I was always calculating rook hd8. I played h5 in this position, but I'm actually very unsure what the computer looked like. H5 was up there as one of the moves, but it looks like it's not the best move. The computer says at this point, I just didn't want to trade, guys. I really didn't want to. The computer says rook hd8 is like the move, and I mean I did think this was probably right. It's worth pointing out the reason why I think this is a better line is his knight's back here rather than here, which is kind of like the win I got. But I thought we would get takes. I actually could take with the knight here with the idea of rerouting it, and he then plays f3, and we would just get this position. Is this just better for me? Minus 0.6, so I must have missed something. Oh, apparently king takes is much more accurate. Oh, right, yeah, that's the other thing, because I did want to reroute my other knight to d6, so they both can hit the e pawn. But I thought once he plays f3, that dream is kind of over. It's over, and like doesn't really matter anymore. All right, whatever. Let's just continue on with the game because we've got a lot of moves to get through, and I have to eat. I have some lasagna to eat at a certain time. In fact, that time is I have like 20-25 minutes, so plenty of time. All right, as expected, Anton plays f3. He locks everything up, and I really start thinking I should have probably traded the rooks, but I didn't. Obviously, I'm calculating rook over, same deal, takes. Knight takes, and I decide that I'm going to leave them on, and I decide to go knight d8 first with the idea of jumping into e6 to connect the knights. Because when he plays the pawn up, I realize now he can get the bishop over here, but this is such a dominant knight that I wanted my knight to stay there. So that's why I did this little, I thought that this was clever. I thought I had all the time in the world. I kept calculating, he can't go there, I take. He can't go there, I take. He can't go here, I take. Which means he can play to d6. But again, I wasn't worried. I can block. I also thought I could always move, rook h f8. So I thought I was doing just dandy, to be honest. He plays bishop e2. Kind of as expected, he's attacking my knight. It's so good, it's preventing him from jumping in. And I play knight d e6, because what else am I going to do? I'm going to connect them. I really thought I was better. Why am I better here? This is a very passive knight. These knights are in the middle of the board controlling a lot. Although he technically controls the file, I can always trade off all the rooks if I want. He's got a damaged pawn structure. This is a backward pawn. My king is a little bit closer to the center. All of these are minor advantages, but I thought they all added up to me being, better, Yeah, minus 0.5. Nothing, I'm not saying this is anything special. In fact, the computer says if he plays knight d3, which is what he does, he's basically reached equality. All right, whatever. I was hoping. Actually, he doesn't play that right away. I thought he was going to play knight here. And I was wondering if I had these pins, but I don't. Because I was then calculating knight takes knight, rook takes. He can just obviously take, but also he can take this knight with check. So it doesn't work. If he goes knight here and I play the rook and he takes, I take back, but then he takes and he just wins a piece. So I was thinking if he plays the knight over here, I actually was going to have to trade. And then when he takes with whatever, I would just, I don't have the move of playing the knight over. I was going to just have to trade off the rooks at that point. So I guess I thought at this position things were kind of trending for equality. He plays king b2, just so you guys can see. I thought I actually had to trade here. I thought trading was forced. What does the computer say? Computer says I can play knight a4 and still claim a bit of an advantage. Oh yeah, I did see that. Actually, something like this will basically happen, so you guys will know I'm not lying. With the idea, obviously, I'm hitting the pawn, and again, preventing his knight to come in. King to come in. So I think I would have done that given what happened in the game is basically this. But just so you guys can tell, if we get this kind of position, he's now threatening to come in. So I think I've like, it's time, trade everything. And if we trade everything here, my problem is this A-pawn falls. So that's why I didn't like any of that stuff. Instead, he doesn't do it. He plays king b2, and I go through another 7-minute think, another long think. For some reason, my gut told me I'm supposed to play a5 here. That was the first thing that I thought of, and I kept saying to myself, I'm supposed to play a5 here. But I didn't listen to my gut, and I then thought to myself, no, I don't think a5 is correct here. But that was what my gut was telling me, and that's wrong. So, cool. I then decided I should probably take space. Basically, just the reason why, when I actually broke this position down, is he is lasering my a-pawn. I like my knight here, but I thought that if he ever jumps, he's going to be applying a lot of pressure. And I didn't want lines where I had to worry about the a-pawn. I did think that I would maybe get play, if he takes it, I can maybe, find a way to win the other a-pawn. That I just never thought I was going to be worse with that line. You know what I mean? But, yeah, I mean, who the hell knows? So I thought for a while, I wondered if I'm supposed to play for g4, but I thought if I play g4, takes, yes, this weakens the pawn, but I'm not really threatening to jump in because of how weak d7 is right now. I cannot get kabobbed. I don't have an escape either. He's cutting it off. So I thought g4 would be too early. Premature is the word I'm looking for. I obviously want to land this knight on f4. That's the other thing I was looking at. But I can't do that yet because this knight is prix, and I would drop a piece. So I couldn't do that quite yet. I really should have traded rooks here, just to be clear. I really was being very dodgy not trading them, actually. Instead, I played b5. My thinking is this gives me an outpost now on a4. I thought maybe I'm getting some play, some lines. And yeah, you'll see what happens. I did think for a while on that move, and I played b5. He plays knight d3, so now he hits me with the knight d3. And the problem is if I go trade, he is going to stick a rook here, and the a-pawn is falling. So I thought the only move in the position is for me to check and then decide. Obviously, if he blunders, he doesn't blunder. He plays the only move in the position as far as I'm concerned, king b3. But if he blunders, if he does something like this, okay, I have a fork. Even if he does something like this, I win this, and I'm attacking his rook. He can't even come in yet. Right, so he could make a mistake, but, right, and so, obviously. I did calculate in this position, excuse me, not in this position. I was calculating a lot of knight takes e5s, because I thought I was protecting c5. I think that'll be the next move. Anyway, he plays king b3, and I think for 5 minutes in this position, and I want to play c5 so I can threaten c4. As you guys can tell, that's a game-winning fork. I also thought that c5 would be strong because it's double supported, and it would be cutting off his bishop. I thought if I played c5, he'd have to move his knight back to e1. It would be very passive. And I thought in that position, I can always trade the rooks if I need to, and my knights are double protecting. I also wanted to play a5 and actually look for some kind of mating attack. Because his king is kind of out of line here with my other pieces jumping in. I don't know if I played the best move here. Yeah, the computer still just says, Rob, you have a good position, trade off the rooks. And a5 is the other move I really strongly considered, a5. Again, just closing the door, giving him one fewer retreat squares, and just taking space. And that way I don't have to worry about this nonsense. I actually think I should have played a5. It's the move I thought longest about here. 23. But then I said, to hell with it. I thought this was unstoppable, and I played c5. Completely missing what he plays next. He plays knight b2. And for some reason, I thought this didn't work, okay? Because I thought I could basically check him. He has to stay glued to the knight, and then I have knight takes pawn. Unfortunately, I realized if I play c4, he can go knight takes pawn, and after pawn takes, he then goes king takes pawn, and he's actually up a pawn, and my kingside pawns are all gone. I think I'm just worse there, much worse actually. So when we arrived at this position, I thought that knight b2 wasn't possible. I then realized, oh shit, I'm in trouble. And then I realized, okay, I have to actually trade because this knight's going to get stuck. I'm going to lose a pawn. And all of a sudden, I think I threw away my advantage. I wondered if he could go rook check, and my first thought was I could move up, and then if he tries to, like checkmate me, I can block. But you'll see what happens. So I play knight takes b2 check. He still has an hour. I'm not kidding. He still has an hour 15. He spent 15 minutes so far through 24 moves. Like, insane. Hoping that he just goes king takes, and then I would basically look to trade everything with his knight being kind of a beast defending, with the idea of jumping in. Just playing... It's not even good knight against bad bishop, but it's better knight against worse bishop and a slightly polluted pawn structure. I was fine to go into this, but I also felt like I kind of lost an advantage. Like I had more, and I kind of was inaccurate. But he actually, I think Anton plays well here. He checks me first, and for some reason, I don't know why, I didn't spend any time on this move. I panicked, and the whole time I was going to go to b6. Obviously, if you go to c6, you get mated. For some reason, I didn't. I don't know why I went to b8. Now, like, literally in my head, the whole time in my head, I was thinking, king b6, because if he ever checks me, now I just block with the rook. And I thought, I'm fine here. But maybe I'm not. No, I am, because if he takes, he still needs to win back the knight, so I have an extra move. So in this position, he has to actually go king takes knight. Otherwise, I just am up a... Yeah, he has to go king takes knight. So after he goes king takes knight, and apparently this is equals, I can just play rook c8 and everything is locked down. Or a6, which is what I was thinking about, so that I'm no longer pinned. Now, the computer gives us completely equality, which means I definitely screwed up. But this is what I was calculating. Instead, I definitely made a worse move. I played king b8, and now I'm actually in a bit of trouble. A little bit of trouble. The good news is he plays... let's see, where are we? We're on move 25. He plays king takes on b2. And as soon as he does that, I realized, I was like, oh my god, I'm getting myself stuck. I need to play rook c7. I need to trade these rooks. I need to get my king centralized. I need to trade the rooks, and I just need to play this endgame. I was like, I can't believe I'm going to blow this game. I can't believe I'm going to blow it. He plays rook d1 to d6, like so. He's attacking my knight. At first I calculate king c8. Obviously putting everything here, but the problem is if he takes, and I would obviously take with a knight, so it's not a pre, this pawn now falls. He can then just go bishop takes, and then I'm just down a pawn. And I think I'm significantly worse. So I thought I found the only move here, rook e8. Everything is guarded. If he takes, I just take, and that's fine. And at this point, I kind of regret it. I felt like I was fairly inaccurate, and I made some mistakes. He plays bishop e3, which actually is a good move, I thought, at some points, because a lot of the times, as soon as my knight is free, I want to jump to f4 with the idea of hitting this pawn. If he moves it, then I hit this pawn, and then I basically make an outside pass pawn. So his move does make some sense. He's kind of, if I ever jump, he just trades it, and I'm still under pressure, like my f-pawn. So yeah, he plays bishop e3, and I think I found the only move. I play king c8. My idea is if he doesn't trade, I'm going to win a rook, so I kind of forced rooks off. And when we arrived at this position, I thought we were going to just draw. To be honest, he plays rook takes. I obviously go king takes, because my knight needs to defend the pawn. My rook is defending the knight. If I move the knight, the f-pawn falls, and I'm immediately attacking, trying to eject his rook. He can't go here, I take. He can't go here, I take. So I saw the only move in this position, rook a6. I would move over, he would move back, I'd move over, and I thought we were going to get a threefold repetition. In fact, with Anton still over an hour and 7 minutes, and I was down to 35 minutes. Again, I told you guys he had like twice the time as me. I thought I was going to just bail out and just take a draw. In fact, I almost offered a draw, but then I said, wait, if he makes a mistake and moves back, I think I'm better again. And the reason why is my king is closer to the center. He's got weakened pawns, and I think this knight is still going to be better than the bishop. I always have ideas, if I need to, of rook d8, the idea of trade, and I just get this comfortable position where my king is closer to the middle. So I kept my mouth shut, and I said, all right, I'm going to force him to find it, and he doesn't. He goes rook d5, and I think this is just a much worse move. Again, I saw this, etc. Threefold repetition. Instead, he plays rook d5, and as soon as he does this, I'm like, I'm in business. Obviously, he's attacking this pawn twice, but I move my king up, I'm defending, and now finally my rook is free. I'm going to be able to push like a6 or a5. I can move this wherever I want. I'm in total business now. And I thought I was better again. So I was like, back to playing for a win. He plays king b3. He's trying to move it on up to the east side. And I go through my options. I say, okay, obviously I have this check, but I don't like it because the knight still needs to defend like this square. I consider a6, just getting off of this goddamn diagonal. I consider a5, but then I worried about c4, and I didn't want to go takes because then his king comes in. I didn't want to push because then it activates and he's no longer going to have doubled. So I thought I basically needed to just chill out and play slowly. Hold on one second. Chill out, cat. He's definitely crying a lot in the background. He's very, very animated. So I go through all these permutations until finally I say, all right, let's just trade the rooks, because then I don't need to worry about this ever. And I'll just play the knight against the bishop. I'm totally comfortable. I think I'm fine. My king's active. Let's go. But I did very quickly say, does he have any like rook takes tricks first? Or like bishop takes? Because the idea is that if I go knight takes, all of a sudden the rook hangs. I realized no, because I always can go knight takes with check, basically. So I saw all that. I realized that none of those intermitsus, work. I'm safe. I play this move. Anton kind of shook his head. He's like, ah, fuck. Maybe he thought he was better during this time, but after this, there's no way white can be better, basically. He goes rook takes. I go knight takes. And it's worth pointing out in this setup, and a lot of the other variants, when I incorrectly place my king on b8 rather than b6, now my king is in a position to support the c5 pawn. I am not down a pawn, therefore I am better. All right, after knight takes on d8, he now plays h4. He's trying to get it rolling. I spend 2 minutes thinking about this, and I really can't ignore it. If he takes, I take, he gets active, and he's up a pawn. If I push, he takes, I push, and I take, and he just has a pass pawn. So I think the only move is to go take, which I do. If I have only moves, I'm going to play them pretty fast. He goes bishop f2. He's going to win this pawn back, and I thought, I'm going to lose the pawn anyway. Let's just play h3 and kind of get this off the square so that the f3 pawn becomes weak. There are definitely ways for me to jump in. In fact, that's what I'm going to do, to basically keep my eyes on both pawns. This is exactly what I'm going to do, for the record. So I did see all that. I kind of make it happen, capping. After h3, he plays g takes h3, of course. His own pawns are a little bit weak, too. And I play knight f7. I go with my idea. My idea is to jump to g5 and hit both these pawns. They're both on light squares. The only weakness in the position is if he can get the bishop to h4, that's a problem. And by the way, the other reason I liked this move is I thought it forced him to go h4 to take this away, and then he no longer has that square for the bishop. And, guys, my plan worked. He played h4. Now, he's preventing me from jumping my knight, attacking both, but it also means after h4, he doesn't have bishop h4, so I thought it was going to be very challenging for him to attack my f6 pawn. So I was getting quite excited, to be honest. I then reroute. The nice thing about knights is they can just jump all over. I play knight d6. My idea now is I want to jump to c4, threaten this fork, and maybe, again, just support this pawn. My king is doing a Yaomin's job. I was in business. I said, let's grind. Let's rise and grind. Rise and shine. He now plays a4, and I just answer with a6. I thought this was kind of classic. If he takes, I take. I don't care. Like, he still has the double pawns. My king is sitting here. It's chilling. Ding chillin'. I have no issues. At the right time, I can play c4, but I really wanted my knight to jump there. It's a light square. It controls everything. It's beautiful. He plays bishop e3. He's trying his best to wiggle in, although it's slow. Maybe I'm making an accuracy here. I don't know. Maybe I calculate f5. At this point, I'm starting to pick up the speed because he still has more than an hour. I'm down to 26 minutes. So apparently, knight e4. My last big think is coming up on the next move. So not here. Maybe I played this too quickly. I played knight c4. And again, my idea is to threaten this fork. Obviously, it has tempo. It's winning tempo against the bishop. But I think his bishop wanted to go after knight e4 to h6. He's trying to get around. And I can't play this yet. So when we reach this position, this was my last big think of the match. I had to do a lot of calculations. And I did. I really started thinking. Guys, would you believe it? I play king d7. My idea is that if he plays over, I can go here. If he then attacks this one as well, I can just go into my plan because I'm in a position to support against a passed pawn, and I thought my king was closer. I didn't want to move it to a dark square because I didn't want it to come with tempo. Check, and then I'd waste a turn moving over. I actually, this was my last big thing. The only move where I spent a fair amount of time. Fucking yeah, I nailed it. It's the best move in the position. I'm patting myself on the back. Okay, well it was. Now King D6 they say is better. I thought I needed to stay off the dark squares. That's funny. Because I thought that Bishop F8 comes with authority. Whereas now it doesn't. Alright, well whatever. The computer originally like my move. And it's like -1. I'm massaging a better position, positionally, you know, trying to make it work. After King D7, he plays Bishop Bishop F. Oh no, what's going on? He plays, oh my god, what is going on here? Okay, there we go. He plays Bishop F8. I just say, fantastic. I have this fork. I go for it. It's worth pointing out that my pawns are doing such a great job of kind of forcing him back. It's slow for him to run. My king is more active. Therefore, I thought it was better. If he ever takes, I take. These two can shut down that one. Yeah, like, let's freaking go. He plays King A3. And I play Knight takes. And by the way, in these calculations, my knight is hitting this pawn. This pawn here is dislodging him. He cannot defend it. At this point, I realized I was going to win the game. Kind of out of nowhere, to be honest. He takes on c5, but it's too slow. It's just too slow. I take, and, you know, I'm going to win this game. I did win this game, as you guys can tell. This is completely winning at this point. Bishop takes c5. I play knight takes on h4, of course. And it's worth noting that I always can move back. My knight controls these two dark squares. His king is way too far, and I basically am going to queen, or what happens is he's going to trade his bishop for the pawn, and that's completely losable with a 2-on-1 where I will be able to make a queen, especially with the aid of a knight. So, yeah, I mean, it went from completely kind of like equal to just lost for him. He strikes out with, he tries after knight takes h4. He plays, where are we? Move 42. Knight takes h4. He plays a takes b5. I'm going to be thorough. I play a takes b5 because there's no passers allowed. He tries to move his king in, king b4. I just say, whatever. I play king c6. I'm defending this pawn. If he ever pushes, I just take. He can never dislodge me from this light square. He can never move this pawn. And I'm gonna queen, or I'm gonna run back and I'm gonna win this pawn. I win shortly thereafter. I'll show you the end of the game. He plays bishop e7. I ignore. I play knight f3. He plays knight takes. He can't take this because I just take anyway and still queen. I play h4. He immediately still has more than an hour, by the way, guys. More than an hour. He plays bishop takes. I play knight takes, and the game's over because I'm controlling all these squares. His king can't get over, and as long as I have one pawn, it's a 100% win, and I will beat Stockfish. He tries c4. I play b takes. He plays king takes. Doesn't matter. I'm taking all the squares away. I play king d6. He has no way in. He can't, run on through. And, he plays c3. I play knight f3. And he then asks me, he says, do you mind just cleaning up? I gotta go. I say, sure. He plays king b5. We actually play a couple more moves. I play king d2. He moves up. I take the pawn. He then checks me. I take the pawn. And he resigns here. I'm pretty happy with my performance. I ended the month pretty well. I thought I kind of played a good positional game, to be honest. Let's go check the review. I'm sure I was not perfect, but overall I'm pretty, 88.6, not quite a 90% game. Yeah, it looks like I built up a bit of an edge and I gave it back. I had that one dicey moment where my king probably was on b8. But overall, I played well. Any 85% over is acceptable and I'm fine with. I got the dub. I think again in the end game I kind of just broke him. Let's see this. We're at 48 minutes. My lasagna is not done yet. So let me go here. Let me go add to my game collection. So for the record, I finished the month. I basically won the other 3 games after losing to Eric Vickers. In the club, I beat Steven, who's higher rated than me, and I tied or drew Ben, who's also higher rated than me. This means I'm going to win some points. After that first game, I was distraught, and I've completely crushed back, so it's been a good month. I don't think I'm going to be gaining 40 points, meaning I don't think I'm going to be over 17-10. This means I might be back for one more month in the middle section. We'll see. I really don't know. Let's see, it's only 10:30. I'm assuming the standings are not up yet. Yeah, these are just up. When I left, Noah was getting crushed by Matthew Wesley, and Zane and Romain were in a very close game. I told Zane that Romain was going to play the Sicilian, and I was right. I looked over. He was on the board next to me. I played this guy, Anton Stark, so that's a win. I'm actually kind of curious. He lost to Matthew Collins. I don't know who that is. And he beat Camille. Camille's a nice guy. And he beat Nico. I think Nico is pretty good, but Nico's results have not been good anymore, which is surprising because I think he's a good player. But who the hell knows? I think everyone is tough. Most everyone is tough. I'll say that. All right, as is usual or as is normal, I'm going to just very quickly go over the game. This is more for me. When I've watched back videos, it does seem as though the things kind of get delayed, but no problem. I know that this move order is still fine. It looks like I'm playing well. They did like my my knight G4 ideas is good. And when he responded with bishop H4, it was pretty much the best move. And they like bishop C5 here, or no, F6, bishop C5 really. I guess the computer just wants me to just completely go after the pawn first, and that's where there's equality. F6 is still fine. It's the second most. Those are the only two moves in the position. I should have given more consideration. I guess because it's also a developing move. It's a developing move and an attacking move. And if he takes my pawn, I take that pawn with the knight, and maybe I can get the bishop pair that way. Probably something like that is the reason why. I just didn't want to be left with this isolated pawn, the e-pawn. I thought I'd have long-term weaknesses there. H6, only move. Ooh, they don't like this. They don't like his idea of doubling up the rooks. It looks natural, but they actually wanted to play G4 in this position, which makes sense. I was going to answer G4 with G5 for the record. They actually say that if he plays G4, I should just go after him with B5. I was looking at B5 a lot because, again, just trying to attack. But instead he makes a mistake. And it's a mistake because I can play B5 here. I can just go animal style on him. I really should have, to be honest. I didn't. I played bishop. I don't know. I like my plan of bishop b4. It's the third best move. Yeah, a5 and b5 are the other ideas here. I need to be more willing to just send my pawns. Send them on in. I did like this move though because I thought I was gonna just give him a long-term weakness. I don't like this move. Trade. And here it's -1. I'm just clearly better. Yep, this is a natural move. He takes. I take. I did take with the better rook, it looks like. He doubles up, and they I was so impressed. That's the beeping. My lasagna is almost ready. I played the best move here. I thought for a long time. Very, very happy with this critical moment. He reroutes. Yeah, this was bishop g3 was better. They said that he should prophylactically just move hd8. And yeah, the computer. Actually, they like g5. G5 is just as good. G5 is good. He moves that. And yeah, the computer is basically saying, for me to have a legitimate advantage, and I need to trade the rooks here. So just so you guys can see, rook h, d8, and then after, well, they say f3 anyway, but let's say trade, and then if I go king takes, apparently this is a -1.5 position. Obviously, he plays f3 to protect the pawn. So why is this good for me? If I can find a4 in this position. I think I would. Maybe. I don't know. I'm preventing his king from coming to b2, but I felt like maybe he would just go to d2. So why is that still good for me? We're going to play out a little bit further. Oh, I actually see the idea. It's so that you can go knight d6, and you're going to jumping to c4, and that's unstoppable. In fact, they say that he should move his king up or so. I don't know. This is confusing. Knight d6 is his. Knight d6. And what's his move here? He has no move. So I'm going to jump in, and he's going to lose this pawn or so. Okay, cool. All right, that's the lasagna. I'll be back in a moment. Smells good. Smells good. Yummy, yummy. I'm gonna let that cool for a minute. And I'm gonna end this game in a moment. I've walked you through it. Pretty happy with myself. Pretty happy with my play. Overall, pretty good. I'm kind of curious where things went a little bit wrong. He plays f3. They don't like this. I thought this was a clever plan. The computer basically is still saying, like, for me to have an advantage, I need to just trade the rooks and go from there. With him having double rooks, this is not something I should have allowed. I should have just gotten rid of it. I thought this was a clever plan, but it's not. He brings it back. Play d6, best move. King over. They're still saying I just need to trade the rooks and I'm slightly better. But they do like b5. It's also excellent. Okay, cool. Here, and I found the best move. a4. Yeah, and what's funny is, yeah, okay. Not here in this position, because he's checked. He moves up. Yeah, only move is king b3, of course. Everything else is losing. And now they're saying, yeah, I was too bold with c5. I really thought I had him here. I thought I had c5, c4, but I need to still just trade the rooks. Rook h, dh. Just bring the last piece in, you know, it's sort of a pin, not really, because he can just move it and then I just trade. That's what I should have done here. I was too premature and this throws away my advantage. And it throws away because of a move I didn't see. I really thought, like, again, if you look at it here, like knight e1, for example, is really bad. Knight c1 is really bad. c4 is really bad. Yeah, all those moves would be really bad, and I missed this move. It's the only move that kind of saves the bacon. Knight b2. They do like my plan of trading, and actually what's fine is white is a little bit better. He finds the best move. I need to run up. Yeah, king b6 is fine. King b8 isn't much worse, but white is like +1 all of a sudden. He now takes my knight. I obviously play rook c7. I'm trying to get him off the 7th. He moves 7-6. So apparently he should have moved away from this and just attacked my knight. And then probably would have just supported the knight anyway with rook e8. So he was a little bit inaccurate. I block. What's his best move here? His best move is rook d5. Backing off here, putting more pressure on my whole position. Yeah, and I'm in a little bit of a box. Computer says it's equal though. Like I've equalized, but I did throw in my advantage. They like my move, king c8 and king b7. Both of these moves apparently are the best move. I like this because it's more forcing. He trades, I trade. Yeah, the computer says this is a draw. And the reason it's a draw is because of the threefold repetition. But he doesn't see it, and I'm right. As soon as he moves back to d5, he is worse. They like my king c6. I bring it up. I'm now a defender with the king. Beautiful. He moves his king up. They like a5 best or b8? No, rook g8. All these are candidate moves. I played rook d8. I just got the rooks off. I just didn't want to worry about this for the whole game. Apparently when I trade rooks, it's an equal position. It's just totally equal. Okay, he pushes the pawn. This was a mistake. He should have played c4. Yeah, I thought he should have traded off the weakness. If he played c4, I was going to actually just play a6, though. Don't know if that's any good. Instead, he pushes. I take, of course. He moves back. Play h3 is best move. He takes. Oh, they don't like this as much. They like knight e6. I don't know why. I like my plan. Because I thought I'd induce this. Apparently, the computer says he should play... Oh, he should just play bishop... Oh, and that's a draw. Bishop h4, because if I trade takes, and these two pawns are clamping the g4 square. Okay. All right. That's pretty much it. Total video, about an hour, which is about what I said I would do, because I want to eat my lasagna. Going through. Great move. They like my plan. He pushes. Oh, apparently I should just take that. Take, knight c4 here. And this is just winning, apparently. Because of knight d2. Which is what I thought. And now if he plays f4, I can take on e4. And I'm hitting this pawn. If he now takes on e5, I'm actually going to be able to win his bishop. And he's not in time, because if he goes takes, I can actually run with my king. He pushes, I run, I stop the queen. All right, cool. And then obviously my knight will go to f5, to h4, and I'm going to queen first. So that's just totally game over. Cool. All right, instead, oh, this is now an accuracy. f5. Yeah, I should have gone f5, and then after takes, and this is still fine for me. Okay, all right, whatever. All right,